Welcome back to Web Certain TV. I'm Gemma Houghton. Today I'm joined by Gavin Colborne, who is the MD of Little Forest, a company specialising in the gamification of governance for multinational brands. And it's that which we're going to talk about today. So hi Gavin, thank you for being here.
Thanks Gemma, hi.
So firstly, what is web governance and why is it something that needs to be talked about in the context of international businesses?
Great question. Governance is different to management. So it's you can think of it as either supporting everything that's involved in digital or also perhaps everything above digital, so like an umbrella. And it's a necessary thing to make sure that the quality and the consistency is there across your digital estate, especially in large companies. And
then you mentioned there that you're focusing on the gamification of governance, which sounds a little bit of a contradiction almost. What is that and how does that work?
Absolutely. So governance is kind of quite a deep, and broad word, and people often feel that it's a lot of command and control.
Yeah.
And really, by turning it into a game, it is much more motivating, much more engaging for people in digital. So we design a game with the clients that each area of digital, like social or content or let's say technical performance, get to define what are their key performance indicators, and that creates a score. And the score is indicative of their success. So every week they're striving to do whatever they can to nudge that score up, and it really motivates people. Gaming somehow just connects us, and that's the fun area.
And I think everybody likes to have things to strive for and likes to win. So
yeah, exactly.
Whether it's at work or for fun, it's still the concept of being able to see results and see how things are working.
That's exactly it. And it's quite hard to understand sometimes for senior management what those results are. Like, okay, our bounce rate's gone up or our conversion rate's gone down. And by making a number and a game out of it, it's easier for them to kind of understand what the teams are doing and how they're progressing.
And you mentioned there, that it's about, the different areas and that they set the specific KPIs. So what does a business as a whole kind of have to start with? What are the fundamentals to have in place when trying to, make sure that you have got this governance structure and that you have got this framework?
So what we find is all of our clients now have lots and lots of data, and data isn't the problem anymore. And there are fantastic industry best practice scores already out there that you can lean on, and people do all the time. So, whether it's the Google Page Speed score or the feedback from your customers, like Net Promoter scores, and there are lots of individual scores in every business that you can consider, and you can take those and help to build up a score for an area, like customer satisfaction. And so we find as long as customers have those in place, we can start the game for them.
And then it's easier to talk about these things. Actually putting them to practice is not always that straightforward, and especially when you're talking about big brands with a lot of teams, often based in different places.
Yeah.
So how do you ensure that you get this consistency? How do you actually roll out a governance program so that everybody's bought into it and understands the framework that they're working in?
Yeah, that's exactly it, is how to do that. So you really need to involve the team members and get their feedback from the very beginning in terms of what they feel is an indicator of success. What do they really need to control in their day-to-day work, and take that from them and then bring it back and review it with them. And really then set a time frame around it as well, because things move on very quickly in digital. But let's say you decide to have a cup or something like so that we will have a Christmas cup, and everyone, once they've agreed, okay, these are the things we're measuring, they really go for it for the end of the year to see who can win in that area. And that is what brings in the motivation and the engagement and the fun.
And there will always there's always going to be disagreements or differences of opinion on terms of what should be measured or what is correct, and everybody maybe puts their feelings forward, but of course somebody ultimately has to decide this is the approach we're going to take or this is what we want to achieve. How can businesses handle that and make what are the best ways to make sure that everybody's bought into it, but yet you're still achieving the results that the business needs to achieve?
Yeah, great question. So, because there is always the sort of central team we find
Yeah.
with multinationals, and yet the local markets know a lot as well. So it has to be a conversation,
Yeah.
and it really has to. Everyone needs to consider that there are differences in terms of each site or product that they're working in.
Yeah.
So an e-commerce site is different to a blog and has different
Mhm.
needs. So when they're evaluating what those parts are that make up the game and the score, it needs to, I think everyone needs to come to the same part on the table. You will always have some players who are much more stronger than others, but hopefully as a group we can come to the right decisions with these things.
And this is obviously one approach that you're taking, that you support clients with, for businesses that maybe haven't got this in place or aren't at that stage yet. What are even then the things they can be doing to bring in this kind of approach and to make governance seem less, like you say, less like a control and a dictatorship, and a bit more like a framework to help everybody do better?
Great question. We do. We're very always open there for consultancy and in terms of free advice. So we're very happy. We love kind of involving clients in this because it's an open discussion. There's a lot out there in terms of industry best practice that would definitely always be good to bring in. So we would always advise clients to do that. And to involve the whole digital team, not forget people's, maybe someone in IT is kind of forgotten, but they're a critical part of being successful in digital. And so that's what we would advise is to have a roundtable event and bring everyone and say, this is what we want to do, and work from there. It's quite straightforward, actually, once you have people talking.
Yeah, and I suppose it's also about making everybody understand the purpose behind it, why it's being done, and what the benefits are, rather than just telling people they have to do something. It's making them feel that there's a reason why, and it's actually in their best interests.
Exactly, yeah.
And in terms of actually managing it and monitoring it, because it's one thing to have an agreement and it's one thing to put something in place to say, right, we're going to have this competition, but not everybody is always going to follow that, or it's not always going to work in that way. What are the ways in which you can actually, a global, say, team can actually keep an eye on what's happening in all the markets and really be able to pick out where things are going well or not going so well, and or not being followed, practice isn't being followed?
There's interesting product design elements that come in there, especially when you have a lot of websites or a lot of products that you're managing. So you need to have an interface that allows very quick comparisons and kind of early warning systems, so that we do that quite a lot, as much as possible in our product, to make it quick for people to understand that in a global role. But there are definitely challenges from a product perspective when you've got 1,000 websites to look at. Good question.
And so finally, for businesses that maybe haven't even really got this, they're not down the road with any kind of governance program. They're maybe not even really putting it into place. What's the starting point? Where should they be, looking to start to build that into their whole business?
I think definitely like a roundtable discussion. So bringing in people from all recognized areas in their business and saying, this is what we want to achieve, this is the kind of time frame, and getting the inputs would be my advice, because it has to be around the room in terms of, if it's in order to work and not feel like it is work, and adding to people's day-to-day life. Yeah,
great. Thank you very much for sharing your insights there. It's great to talk to you.
You too.
Thanks.